My suspicion is rap has always been a black art form, and I don't feel like black art is respected, and that's why I don't think that there's ever been much care to preserve rap's integrity as it's being commercialized. Because I think if you look at other areas, you know, any other skilled artist or people, when they do endorsements, there's no question over, it's not, the purpose isn't, how do I explain, they respect what the art is. So I was just saying that I don't think that it's the same with rap. Like, I don't think they preserve the integrity of rap in the same way.
See, this is why, like, people always ask, it's looked down upon, and people in hip hop want to keep people in a box and things like that. I feel like that's kind of misconstrued.
Mm.
I think you got to look at where hip hop started to kind of understand why the concept of like going mainstream is looked down on just a little bit, and going all the way back to like
No Vas.
why am I blinking? Like Sugar Hill Gang, right? That's the name.
Yeah, yeah.
Sugar, yeah. Going all the way back to that record, like their first record, like it was the first commercial hip hop record. Like real rappers like had a problem with that record. I saw this thing that basically said like if you mix art with capitalism, you lose the art and you like end up making a product. And I feel like there's this balance of like, yeah, you have to make money because of the society we live in, and you got to be able to provide and all that kind of stuff for yourself and for your family. But there's like this balance of doing that and not losing the art.
Okay, well, hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is No Ghostwriter. Follow No_Ghostwriter on Twitter and Instagram for 24/7 rap and hip hop talk. And be sure to like this video, leave a comment and subscribe if you like who I'm talking with today. And I'm so excited for this. This is none other than Bobby Foster. Round of applause.
Hello, hello.
Huge guy on YouTube, and I'm so glad to be sat here with you. I'm so grateful that this is even possible. And I'm really grateful to our mutual subscribers who wanted this to happen really, really bad.
Yeah, for sure. This was definitely a hyped collab. I'm excited to be here talking to you. I'm excited about what we're going to be talking about today. We've had some good conversations already and just like want to expand on that.
Yeah, we really wanted to build on it. And the topic that we were talking about today, and this is going to be the first part of the conversation. For the second part, make sure that you head over to Bobby's channel and smash that subscribe button over there as well. And we're talking about the commercialization of hip hop. I mean, I think it's a very obvious elephant in the room these days that there's a lot of money in hip hop, and money is not always synonymous with quality.
Yes.
So, I mean, I guess let's talk about what we mean when we talk about the commercialization of hip hop, because hip hop wasn't always this big billion-dollar industry, was it?
No, it was not.
I mean, it started in the streets, and for me, that's the thing that I'm a historian. I mean, I studied history at university. I really enjoy looking at how things develop at a grassroots level in communities. And one of the things I love about hip hop is that it was always a community sport. And in a way, I feel like our YouTube channels sort of represent that, because we've got these communities of people now, and all we do is talk about hip hop all day, and it's awesome.
For sure. Yeah.
I think that's what people talk about. And what's your view on sort of commercializations where hip hop started out?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it did start in the streets. It was expression. I actually just read this book that put it this way. It was basically like the news channel for Black people, right?
Yeah.
It was where Black people could go and actually get real stories about what were happening in their communities. And I feel like that was kind of like the genesis of, rap, and where lyricism, there was more to the lyricism, as far as what I'm saying is like reporting on what's going on.
Yeah.
And I feel like that we've kind of gotten away from that a little bit, but I know we're gonna talk about that a little bit later.
Yeah, we'll talk about that for your side.
Yeah.
But that's really a point. I think a lot of people know about sort of hip hop getting started in the 80s, and then having a real big sort of teenage moment in the 90s, and then we're getting into the 2000s, and I think people can put the history together, and they know about Lil Wayne, and they will know about Drake and Nicki, and they kind of know about and Cole Kendrick, so they know about the map. But I think people underestimate, they didn't have phones in like the
Yeah.
80s and for like
Yeah.
most of the 90s. People didn't have the internet. There was no Shade Room, there was no Neighborhood Talk, there was no, YouTube T channels. Black people's news came from black people's mouths through
Yeah.
black people's music. And something I want people to think about is, like, think about it. In Straight Outta Compton, I think when people see, like, oh, the police were trying to get the music taken down off the radio, that was a thing. Like, hip hop was being banned. Like, even in the UK, albums were being banned and refused to be sold. So it's like what black people were doing. If you think about how impactful it is when Black Twitter, gets together and has a voice.
Mm-hmm.
Now imagine that in a world of no phones and, early internet, and you've got people reaching all over the world. Black voices are amplifying all over the world. It was huge. And then, of course, the money came in.
Yes. And I feel like in some ways, obviously the commercialization of hip hop has helped, because like when you do have money, you have funds, you can reach more people. But we all know when you have, a lot of money and funds in something, the big corporations are going to gouge, whatever they can get out of it, And so I think it goes to say, it's like when you have something that's so, I guess, pure of expression, and then the money gets involved. Like I'm saying, in one way it helps, and another way it doesn't.
Yeah.
And I feel like since the money's been introduced, it seems to kind of like be on this like pendulum where it goes from like being extremely commercial, kind of like all the way to the other side. There's like a balancing nature to it, where then there's a lot of, conscious rap and things like that. And then it swings all the way back over. I feel like, that has been a pattern throughout like hip hop history.
Yeah, and that's something that because I remember before when we were talking about this episode, what we were going to talk about, I suggested that I felt that the advent of gangster rap, and then all of the subsequent public beefs, the deaths of Biggie and Tupac, kind of, that was, gangster rap was such real street rap. Like, it was so real, and I mean, you had people really rapping about stuff almost eerily prophetic of their own deaths, and the death was really there. And then you're right, then we're listening to lots of Talib, and we're listening to Mos Def, and we're getting like lots of Common, and it kind of, the pendulum switched in a way, and we were all like sort of like rap neo soul situation, because there was that, and then obviously there was the big pimpin' music, you had what Bad Boy was doing, and then Rockefeller, there was like those two spheres, but it didn't. And then the pendulum, I don't know, when do you think the pendulum shifted again? Because I'm thinking so we're in that era of like an era of very conscious, very Afrocentric rap.
I would say like 50 Cent and like DMX in that time period. I feel like that kind of shifted things back a little bit. And obviously, like, I was young at the time, but like we're saying, we're kind of like students of the game. And just like as I'm researching things, like you were kind of saying, like that P. Diddy Bad Boy, like that was super commercial, right?
Yeah.
Like that was like,
that's when people started to see that, oh, there's money in this. Like,
that was like a huge injection of money in the industry for sure. And then, I feel like 50 Cent was a huge shift back to kind of like the street rap and like the expression of like his life story of where he came from and things like that. Because I actually still think Get Rich or Die Trying is still like that's the best selling debut since like that came out. And that album was huge. Like I think I was 9 when that album came out. But it was
that album. I don't know why.
It was everywhere. Like people usually Oh wait, what happened? Sorry.
No, I was like, I had that album too. I had a big picture
Oh,
for some reason.
for sure. I bought that album. And like people don't. I feel like people now don't get like how big 50 Cent was in 2003.
Yeah.
Like people always talk about how big Wayne was in 2008, but I would argue like 50 was like hotter than Wayne was in 2008 and 2003. He like shifted everything.
Yeah.
Like he was like that brand. You know what I'm saying? And obviously he got into more like other things like power and like
Yeah.
acting and stuff like that. Became like a mogul. Um, but yeah, I would say kind of like around that time, DMX was a huge influence too. I actually just found out like he dropped what was it? Like 5 albums in like a pretty short period, and two of them were in 1 year. And
Yeah,
they
there's
like
a
both
Russ
went number
bar.
one or platinum or something
Yeah,
like
there's
that.
a Russ bar, and he says I might drop 2 platinum albums in a year, like DMX.
Yeah, like that's
Yeah,
I didn't know he was that big, honestly. Like I didn't listen to DMX. Like I heard like, like Rough Riders Anthem and stuff like that, but I didn't know he was that
he was
big.
huge. No,
Oh, yeah, he was huge.
DMX was huge. I mean, the thing I always think about, if you think about, all of this, the commercialization of hip hop, and also just as a little plug, I have a podcast called Don't Drink the Pickle Juice. The first season is about hip hop's media moguls, and we discuss the likes of Nicki Minaj, 50 Cent, Jay-Z. Bonus episodes also discussing people like Diddy and stuff like that. So check it out. I heard a rumor that Bobby might be a guest. I don't know. But check that out if you really are looking for that conversation into, how these people build themselves into brands. But just speaking generally, like you said earlier, it's not necessarily a negative that there's money going into, black pockets. Sometimes something I really want people to get on my channel is if you see somebody is making $1 million, always assume that there is someone else making 10 times that off that person. Because
Facts.
all of this is business. This is not friendship. This is business. So when you see people in rap and they're talking about, I just signed $1 million deal, or I just got signed for this much, times it by 10. That'll give you an idea of their recoupability. Because all of these like, music companies, they must make money. Money is so essential, and money isn't always a bad thing. I know when we think about, people are just doing things for clout and money, yes, that's not necessarily good. But money itself, if there is money in hip hop, that's good for hip hop.
Yes.
If people, because I think sometimes what people forget, and I use Nicki as a great example of this, when people don't put money into hip hop, it is very, very hard to break in. And Nicki, with the female hip hop space being, almost dead, or practically dead when she got in, she had to work so hard to convince labels and to convince the industry, no, we can make money, we can be interesting, we can be hot. And now, the women, I almost feel like the labels are like, we want our Nicki Minaj money, come on.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
And it's sort of like, it's harsh on these girls, because it's like, look, yes, Nicki Minaj came in and made a load of money, and she was amazing, and she still is. But I feel almost because Nicki set the example, but there's such a narrow lens of what they understand success to be as a female rapper. I almost feel like with men, have you ever seen how male rappers almost make a choice about whether they're going to be commercial or not?
Yeah.
Have you seen that? They kind of, it's a conscious decision they make and everyone respects it. Women do not have that option. Like, you must be making Nicki numbers or appear to be making Nicki numbers, otherwise you are a flop. And part of the reason I feel like it's that way is because if you look at the industry's knowledge of what women in rap look like, they didn't know. So they had the 90s, then they had nothing for about 5-6 years, and now they had Nicki, and that's all their reference. That's their only frame of reference. They're like, oh, okay, well then you must be like Nicki Minaj. That's what makes money. So I say all that to say it's a good thing when there is money, because it means that there's opportunity, but it also has a double-edged sword in that when artists are seen as part of a profit margin, because they are, bottom line for everybody, it stifles it. And I think that stifling is why we're where we are right now. I just,
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't feel like this. Even the most conscious rappers I'm hearing, like conscious ones, the woke ones, are all
Mhm.
rapping about money moves. Whether it's money moves in
Mm.
the context of, look, I own my masters, I didn't sign a 360 or something like that.
Mm.
But money is on everyone's mind in hip hop.
Yeah.
Everyone's mind. I can't really think of someone I know that's just rapping because, hey, it's love to rap.
You know, it's funny. Like I was actually just talking about this in the Discord because like I had like a this can't be right kind of moment where I was like,
Yeah,
are Kendrick and J. Cole the last two artists that like conscious artists that like blew up, hit like a major mainstream level of success? And no one could come up with anyone from that point that like blew up that's kind of like a conscious rapper. And I was like, that's crazy. Like it's been like they blew up in like 2011, 2012. Like it's
yeah,
been like 8 or 9 years.
yeah,
Um and I just find that to be really telling. And I feel like ever since social media came about, and the labels found out that there's a lot of money in people's followings that they build on social media, it's
yeah,
pretty much just become a game of, you know, appealing to your social media fan
yeah,
base.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh,
I feel like
hello.
that more so more so than like the money being the issue. I feel like now, you know, where before labels were looking for like superstar potential, now they're just looking for brand potential, you know, influence
Brand,
potential.
can you influence? Can you get it?
Exactly.
And I was watching this really interesting video with the Virgin EMI. I think she's the head A&R or something like that in the UK. And she was just talking about that very same subject. And, you know, she was just talking about how when artists come to a label and they've already got, you know, content and they're already making content, it's wonderful. But one thing that everyone has to be careful to do is that they don't just make their artists content creators. And
Mhm.
someone like Sweetie, right? I think Sweetie's she's really fun. She's smart as hell, really good at business and branding. I I see Sweetie as a content creator. I don't see her as rap hungry. She'll rap, don't get me wrong. Like
Mhm.
put out some rap music, but it's just it's just content. It's not, how do I explain it? Like it's there,
No, I get what you're saying
it's
100%.
just
Yeah.
content. It's not, and I think that's where that brand equity of your social following. I think now musicians, I think, just have to make real. I mean, I'm an R&B head as well. Like I love all the new school R&B, and I'm like a huge Brent Faiyaz like stan. I think that's how you say his name. And I just went on his profile, and you know, there's a Calvin Klein ad. Okay,
Mhm.
he's doing a Calvin Klein ad. So I was like, right.
Mhm.
For some reason I watched it. And then do you know what? It was actually quite cute. Like he starts like beating on the table and then singing, and it sounds like a Brent song, but it's not.
Mhm.
And then I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I liked that. So like it
Yeah.
worked. That it was, yeah, he's making content for an endorsement, but it's Brent. What I was trying to say there is that you can, as an artist, embrace the commercial elements of endorsements and stuff like that and maintain the integrity of who you are. I feel like my suspicion is rap has always been a black art form, and I don't feel like black art is respected, and that's why I don't think that there's ever been much care to preserve rap's integrity as it's being commercialized. Because I think if you look at other areas, you know, any other skilled artist or people, when they do endorsements, there's no question over, you know, it's not, the purpose isn't, how do I explain, they respect what the art is. So I was just saying that I don't think that it's the same with rap. Like I don't think they preserve the integrity of rap in the same way.
Yeah. I mean, what would you say would be the thing you feel like they're not preserving, like when it comes to rap and hip hop?
I think that they're missing the fact that it's expression and it's supposed to mean something. There's supposed to be a meaning behind it. And I feel for some rappers, yes, like I can imagine if Kendrick did an endorsement that they would, you know, probably have it all black and they would just sort of respect him as a lyricist. But with rappers, I don't see that generally that their endorsements tend to reflect anything about them. We know people are looking at you, so wear these shoes.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think when it comes to see this is why like people always ask, it's looked down upon and people in hip hop want to keep people in a box and things like that. I feel like that's kind of misconstrued.
Mm,
I think you got to look at where hip hop started to kind of understand why the concept of like going mainstream is looked down on just a little bit. And going all the way back to like
no Vas.
why am I blinking? Like Sugar Hill Gang, right? That's the name?
Yeah, yeah.
Sugar, yeah. Going all the way back to that record, like their first record, like it was the first commercial hip hop record. Like real rappers like had a problem with that record. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
they had a
Because
problem with that. Exactly.
yeah, yeah, because it was
Always
it was
be there.
commercial and like people like one of the guys actually was like stole someone's raps
They
and
did. I did. I watched
yeah,
the whole documentary about it. It was
yeah,
a
yeah,
whole
and
thing.
so, like, it literally started like, that concept of, like, "Oh, you're selling out," basically, literally started with the first commercial hip hop record, like, it starts literally at the very beginning,
In it.
and because, like, it has to do with, you know I saw this thing that basically said, like, if you mix art with capitalism, you lose the art and you, like, end up making a product, and I feel like there's this balance of like, yeah, you have to make money because of the society we live in, and you got to be able to provide and all that kind of
Mm,
stuff for yourself and for your family. But there's like this balance of doing that and not losing the art. And I
yeah.
feel like we're kind of in a space right now where, kind of like you said, the word intention. I feel like the intention is more of like, I'm a businessman, I'm a businesswoman, and I'm
Hop
using rap.
entrepreneurs, hip hop entrepreneurs.
Exactly.
I call them on my channel. It's hip hop entrepreneurs. It's people at
Exactly.
it saying, "All right, this is what the market wants. This is my product." But if you look at all of who was saying this, I don't know where I was looking, but if you look at all of the greats, they all have one thing in common, and these people are nice on a mic, like
Yeah.
really nice on a mic, and that's what I don't know. And because people are so used to being consumers, they just consume like all of this, commercial hip hop. Yeah, so they just consume this content and they don't really sit and think, is this feeding me like art is supposed to? And in other areas of the arts, whether it's theater, classical music, any other music, if the music itself sounds terrible, people don't like it. Like, at the end of the day, you're not gonna win, country music awards with bad country songs, but you can win
Hmm.
hip hop awards with horrible music.
That's interesting. This issue is we're in a huge era of like we're switching platforms, right? So we're kind of going from, so it went from, like a vinyl where you would only have a single because that's how much space was on it, right?
Mhm.
And then when that switched to a vinyl where you could have more songs, that's when albums started to take off. And like the Beatles actually are credited for like the first conceptual album.
Oh,
And so yeah, so then you go through history and you follow that, and then all of a sudden you have CDs. Now, what was really interesting at this point, think like NSYNC and stuff like that,
hmm,
what labels actually started doing, and I did not know this, but this is interesting. So it became less of a singles market. So singles used to be a thing. Like people used to put out
I
a
used to
bunch of singles
buy
like they do
singles.
right now.
I remember I used to buy them on their own.
But labels were like, nah, we're gonna make more profit. So what they did was that's when you started seeing the traditional, one single, two single rollout.
Get the rest
And
of
what
the
they
album.
yeah, so basically you
Ah,
were paying $10 for a single because like they would only
I
sell it on a
remember that.
CD.
I think I remember that being a thing. Like you would see
Yeah,
the song is out, but you can't get the song unless you
unless you
get
get
the
the CD.
album, and then you got the.
Yeah.
But these days, they don't even give a damn about the album.
Exactly, because now it's a singles market again, right?
But,
And so
but
now, because of streaming and everything, I think the idea of like, say, like a project, right? Like that was revolutionized, like I'm saying, through conceptual albums and things like that. So it was like each song built on like a theme or a
mm,
narrative or something like that. Now we're kind of switching to like where it's a singles market, and I think there's a because like the album, especially in hip hop culture, was such
So
like a staple,
important.
right?
Classic
Now it's not.
album.
Now it's not. And I feel like, how do we tell stories? How do we tell narratives? How do we do themes when we're only releasing singles or EPs? How do we do that? And I feel like that's something that new artists have to answer, because I think the want for something grander when you're listening to music isn't going to go away, but at the same time the market isn't in a space for it really right now. But I know someone's going to come up with some type of idea where we get, it's kind of like, even now, like people like watching TV shows more than movies. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
And you do like episodes and stuff like that instead of one huge package. So I mean, someone will figure it out.
Figure it out. I mean,
Yeah.
you're right. You're right. I think it is up to the new artists. I think the artists versus the hip hop entrepreneurs is going to be, a challenge that all of them are going to be dealing. Also, some artists are hip hop entrepreneurs, but the best
Yeah.
ones are both, but it stays legit. I think one of the most important things about storytelling, and this is something, I am not Nicki Minaj by ever, but I do write poems and I write things, right? And I was saying to my girlfriends, because they were really encouraging me, they're like, no, Blessing, you need to actually put your music out there. I was like, why would I do that? And they were like, because of what you say. You say really interesting things and you make me think or whatever like that. And look, those are my best friends. They'll support me. So I love them. But what they were saying is there's a point. Actually, I sit and I think about it. Well, yeah, that's why I need Nicki's music. That's why I need, Nipsey's music. That's why I need to hear these things, Even with Megan, when I first heard Megan, I was like, fresh single. I needed to hear a 24-year-old girl, same age as me, talking about, listen, it's hot girl summer, where the party at? I needed that. Even though it's not deep, it still was something communicated to me. I think right now, the lack of I think the lack of substance comes from a place of, I don't know whether people even know what to say. And I think the concept of what's real anymore and what's not curated for the internet is to the point that artists, for example, one big criticism Nicki gets is that she's not active enough and she doesn't vlog and she doesn't post and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, she's probably at home, writing some lyrics or looking after her kids or something. But people are like, unless you're giving us now, we don't want it. But it's like, would you guys, so if Megan, for example, released a song talking about some stuff that she went through 4 years ago, and it was a 4-minute song, bars from start to finish, no hook, are you people will be like, I don't understand, why am I listening to this? And then if there was a scandal attached to it, then they'd know. But if it's just someone's own expression, I don't think they know. Because even with even it just seems to me like, I know that people probably want to speak and want to touch those topics. Some people do, but they're sat there like, I don't know whether they want to hear this. And I think Asian Doll even tweeted something like that. I tweeted something about Asian Doll saying, she's actually got songs where she's talked about her mom going to prison and then having to move to a whole new city and how she handled things like that, how she's handled her anger, anxiety, depression. She's talked about these things. It's in the I like listening to that stuff, so that's what I go for first. If an artist doesn't have any music like that, it's very unlikely that I'll listen to their rap. But it's there. But I don't know whether people know, or maybe our world is so commercial and we're so desensitized that we wouldn't do. Maybe we don't know what to do with a classic rap album anymore.
I'm okay. So I'm using 2021 as like a test.
Yeah.
So yeah, because there's a lot of album artists dropping.
Yeah.
Kendrick, Adele is supposed to drop. Beyonce is probably gonna drop a project. So it's like, I want to see if these albums stick. If these great artist albums don't stick, then to me it's like, obviously the consumer is just in a different place, completely different place. And so it'll just be really interesting to see. I'm really interested to see if like, because this is what really surprised me. Like, and I know it was a deluxe and a side B or whatever, but every Eminem project gets a bunch of press and like people talk about it and stuff like that.
But then it's
The album he just dropped did nothing.
no,
Like it
I
did
didn't even know
nothing.
he dropped an album. I was like
That's what I'm
on
saying.
Spotify just listening, and then I heard an Eminem verse, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Where's this
And
from?"
I like that
And I was like,
really
"Oh, he's got
surprised me.
an album."
Also, like the reception to like when we look at like, okay, you know how they changed the bundle rules on Billboard?
Mm,
I think that was really what's the word I'm looking for? Like it was really boosting sales, I think, more than people know.
yeah,
Because
it was.
when you look
Because now
at
people are saying
after it
10K.
changed, yeah, like when you look at after it changed, Taylor's albums were way down.
Yeah,
Ariana Grande's sales were way down.
yeah,
Meg's sales were like pretty minimal for her debut.
yeah.
Like Eminem's album sales were super low for him. Like so all these people's sales were like way under, and like that all happened after the Billboard shift.
Mm.
And so it's like maybe albums have been dead for a long time and the merch is what was keeping it alive.
I know, but
You
I'm
know?
thinking over there. I got my Queen album on vinyl over there. I don't have a vinyl machine, people. All right, so sorry, we had some tech difficulties, so I don't remember what I was last saying, but I was really excited. But in summary, the next part of our conversation that we'll be having on your channel, is sort of. I mean, we've talked about the history. We sort of talked about how things go in ebb and flows of conscious rap to not less conscious rap. And, the last point that you were making, so is that it's up to the new artist. And I guess the next part of the conversation is who's got the range, if anyone has the range, a little bit of a survey of the landscape, which I'm really excited to go over with you. And I just want to say from my side, I'm not from America, so it has been amazing for me to get, I don't know, just to speak to you, because this is your culture, like this is your stuff, and it's just so incredible to me that I'm able to have this conversation with you, and I hope that you've enjoyed it thus far.
Yeah, no, this conversation was awesome. I wish honestly, I'm glad we're doing a part two because I have a lot more to say.
Oh,
I
we
know
got
you got
more
a
to
lot more to say.
say. We got more to say, but I think it suits well because I feel like I'm trying to be a bit of a hip hop historian, and I feel you are so good. We were talking about our mutual strengths, and you were saying that you feel like I'm my audience is onto what's happening right now, and I felt like you had all this cache of knowledge that I didn't have. So I feel like you've been able to give to me a lot, and hopefully in the next conversation that we have over on your channel, we can really get into sort of the contemporary landscape, commercialized hip hop right now. Because I think we need to have some conversations, because there's a lot of hyping up, but I think we need to bring that real critical commentary to it. So I'm really looking forward to it. But thank you so much. The people should know where to find you by now. It's Bobby Foster on YouTube, and it's also Bobby Foster on Twitter. And also people need to subscribe to your Patreon and also join your Discord board for really cool chats. And you have a name. Your following has a name.
So there's kind of two. So my Discord chat, we're called Fire Nation, and Fire stands for Family's Really Everything.
Amen.
That's kind of been something that I've been messing with. Honestly, it's almost been like 10 years at this point. But no, like on Twitter, the name The Bobbles started floating around.
The Bubbles?
The Bobbles.
I got Mukosha Mom.
So, I'm kind of rolling with it for
I'm
now.
a bubble. I'm a bubble.
Yeah.
I want to be a bubble. I'm very excited.
So, yeah. Oh, man, that's funny.
Well, thank you. Look, it's just incredible. You guys, I promise you, you won't be disappointed subscribing to Bobby's channel. I love it. His reactions are on point. He reacts to everything. I love his face when he's being respectful.
Wait, what do you mean?
No, you're better than me. I'll do reactions and I'll be like,
oh, okay.
but you're really nice. Yeah. You're nice and constructive too.
Yeah, so I honestly I feel like this is a little good backstory since we're kind of like going to transfer over to my channel. I feel like with what I do, so I was a creative writing major in college, and so like I learned how to like critique and like remain come to class and we would have to critique the stories they're doing and things like that.
Uh,
So I'm always kind of like looking for I've learned to critique not necessarily, throwing like dirt on something or throwing
yeah,
shade on
you don't need
something.
to kick something.
More so kind of like looking at what I like and boosting that up and then just like making aware of the things that I think are lacking. So yeah, I would say I like stay respect, but sometimes something is like just really terrible and I can't
Well,
I
it's the
can't
lawyer,
keep
it's the
composed.
it's the it's the barrister in me to just be like, no,
Yeah.
this was bad. Oh, well, thank you so much, you guys.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure that you, like I said, like this video, comment, tell us what you thought about our conversation, and subscribe. And then don't waste time, go straight over to Bobby's video on his channel, which is linked in my description below. But thank you so much, Bobby, and see you over on your channel.
Definitely. And leave more comments on other things you want us to talk about.
Yes, because we
Yeah.
like this. We're having a real
Yeah.
fun little natter. It's good. All right, peace out, Bobby. I'll go see you on your channel.
All right. See you soon.
All right, bye.